It's the leveler's on, right? If you see the screens now, you won't be able to see what else we're doing. The closer you get to the front, the better off you'll be. We've got 30 minutes. I asked Jenny, we're allowed to go a couple minutes over, which is good. What we're going to do here, just by way of introduction, my name is Dan Green. I am a vendor. Gosh, it sounds like a confession. I'm a vendor. I have a company called Bring the Blog. And I'm also a loan officer. This is my 4th year here. I saw a lot of really familiar faces, which is great. This is one of my favorite conferences every year. What your organization does for you is amazing, and some of the tools that they give you, just really progressive as compared to other MLSs around the country. So very, very cool stuff. But I work for a company called Bring the Blog, and we make a lot of websites. In fact, I've been coming here for a lot of years talking about building websites and how to do it. And what's great is that over the last year or so, it's gotten much, much simpler to build a website. It used to have, to need technical knowledge. You had to be somewhat of a techie, and that's not the case anymore. So what I've done here is I've created a presentation that actually shows you in 30 minutes and with less than $300, you're able to create your own website. You won't write a single line of code, and we're going to go through step by step. And what's going to make this tough, my last plea for the people in the back, you're going to have a hard time seeing what's going on the screen. What we're going to actually do is walk through the process step by step. I went and actually created a website that's now live. That website is 30 minutes, $300. And we're going to talk about this over and over again. Don't worry about taking notes. The only thing you need to remember, 30minutes300.com. When this is all over, you'll see exactly what's been built. And all the videos that we're going to look at today, which were done essentially in real time, they're all posted live for you to reference after the fact. So what's more important here is that you're watching. I'm going to give some running commentary. We'll talk about how what actually I'm doing on the screen. And then when you go home, you can actually sit down with the website, watch these videos one by one, and if you can follow directions, similar to cooking with a recipe in front of you. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, click, 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 and you'll be able to have something that looks very, very similar. Have I lost anybody yet? Yes?
That's the website, 30 minutes plus 300?
No, that's the name of the presentation. 30 minutes, 30minutes300.com. It's 30minutes300.com. It's like a radio ad where they keep saying it over. 30minutes300.com. 130 minutes, $300.com. Okay. If you happen to be on Twitter, if anybody's tweeting while this is going on, you'll see there's a hashtag here in the bottom left. This MLSTF11 is the hashtag for the event. If you learn anything interesting and want to share it, go ahead and do that. You can move it along. All right. So, as I said, we have 30 minutes. Now, we're allowed to bleed a little bit over into lunch. Sorry to do that. So if you want to stick around, I will stay afterwards to answer questions. This first step that we're going to look at is going to be the most complicated thing we're going to do. Everybody understand the concept of having a URL, a domain name? Okay. So conceptually, I just want to explain this, and then we'll get into everything. Your domain name is just that. It's just like you have your own name. John Smith, Betty Crocker. Just recipes are in my head. That's the first thing that came to mind. That's terrible. Sarah Lee. I'll just continue. So those don't really mean anything. That's just your name. It doesn't stand for anything. And it especially becomes important, let's say you're trying to file your taxes. The government doesn't know you by name. What they know you by is Social Security number. And everybody has this number identifier. So when you think about what's actually happening on the internet, when someone types in yourname.com to find your website, that doesn't really mean much to all the computers and servers that power the world's web, the internet. Instead, everybody has what's called an IP address. Has anyone ever heard that term before? It might be like 192.168.1.1 or something. It's this series of numbers. And so in the only technical step that we're going to do, we're going to actually register your domain name, so yourname.com, and we're going to go ahead and link it to your IP address. There's a simpler way than what we're going to walk through here, but what I'm looking for is the least expensive solution. So the way that we're doing this just happens to be a little bit costly. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a web server. We're actually going to reserve ourselves spaces on a computer. If you have a PC and you've got to load Microsoft Word on it, remember Microsoft Word is the program that you run when you want to do word processing, but the computer is actually where the Microsoft Word runs. You've got to do the same thing with your website. Your website is a piece of software that has to sit on a server somewhere. And so what we're going to do is get ourselves a little piece of a server that will be ours. And that's this first step. So here we go. HostGator. And all the links to all these sites, don't worry about it. They're all on the 30minutes300.com site. Yes, the web server will be through a company called HostGator, which is inexpensive and has wonderful customer service and makes it very easy to build a WordPress site. Okay, here we go. So the first thing we do at HostGator.com, there's a link to it. We're going to select shared hosting, which means we want to put ourselves on a server with other people. And you'll see it only costs $5.50 a month. Very, very inexpensive if you're investing in your own business. We click through. There's actually, we're going to put in our domain name. So we're going to tell HostGator, what do we want our domain name to be? We want to make sure that we actually can own that. We give ourselves a username and a security pin. And this one screen is really going to be all you need to reserve your space on the host. I skipped through so you don't see on my credit card number. You'll see $66.72 a month. HostGator will then send us an email. And in the email, there's some information down here where it has what's called name servers. We're going to come back to that. That's the link up between a name and the IP address. We go to GoDaddy to register a domain name. Now, GoDaddy is kind of interesting. They're very inexpensive. But one of the things that they love to do is to upsell you. So we're going to see how this works. We register a domain name for 1 year, set name servers. Now, this is us telling GoDaddy, where is your site going to be hosted? We go back to the email from HostGator. We can see it tells us what our 2 name servers are. We key that in. That's now connecting the name to the social security number sort of thing. And from here, that's the only technical step we're going to do. Just to conceptually understand that, we key in our 2 name servers. Now, as we go through the process, GoDaddy is going to start to try to sell you stuff. First, they're going to want to sell you privacy and domain name protection. Then they're going to want to start to sell you email addresses, web hosting. The list goes on and on and on. And they're the masters at it. One of the reasons why GoDaddy is so inexpensive is because they count on you buying other services that you don't necessarily need. One thing I do like, though, is what's called a private registration. And what that does is it hides your email address, more or less, from the general spamming public. Whenever you register a domain name, it's public information. When you go private, it actually gets shielded so nobody can see it or send you anything. It's like $6 a year. Totally worth it. Protects you from getting mail at your house for the next 15 or 20 years. It's true. I still get mail from my first domain name registrations. Big section here, how'd you hear about us? Click anything. The reason why I point this out is if you scroll down below that, below the checkout button, which is weird, stay informed. And these are all of your opt-outs. GoDaddy puts it below there so that you don't necessarily see it. Again, they want to send you more email. They are the only company that will send you more email than Inman will. So you want to make sure that you say no, no, no. Is anyone from Inman in the room? All right. Okay. So that's it. And that was 2 minutes and 36 seconds. And what you've just done is register your domain name, and you've gotten yourself space on a web server. Essentially, you've now have your canvas, and we're ready to go. Yes?
The reason you use Gator instead of Daddy for hosting is just price difference?
HostGator is a little bit more expensive than GoDaddy. We're going to see why we use HostGator next, because they make it very easy to get started. But I will tell you that my own experience is that HostGator is very fast as far as responding, and we know that Google likes sites that are fast, but they also have tremendous customer service, and I'd put it, it will cost you an extra $2 a month or whatever it might be, is totally worth it. Yes? Yes, unlimited. You're generally more limited by the amount of traffic, but shared hosting has never been an issue, as far as I know. Now, the next thing we're going to do here, we already have our server and we want to put a website on it. This is why I love HostGator, one of the main reasons. So inside HostGator's email, they've got a username and password they tell us and how to log in. So we click the link and we go to give our username and password, and you get this control panel. You scroll to the bottom, there's this thing called Fantastico Deluxe. It's aptly named, is fantastic. There's a button on the left that says WordPress. You click it, and it says, oh, new installation. Click the new installation button, and you want to give yourself a username and password. Here we're going to use the username admin. The password we're going to use is seminar. And this is really all the information that you need to install WordPress on your server. You're going to change your email address in here just so you have a way, you see Dan to bring the blog, because that's how I want to be registered with the site. Click Install WordPress and finish installation. And now if we go and we click through to our actual site, oh, here, we're sending the details to ourselves. If we go back and we click through to our site, 30 minutes, $300, now what we have is a WordPress site loaded on there. Has anyone ever seen a site that has this header up top? This is the default WordPress installation. This means that somebody put WordPress on and never did anything else with it, never changed it or anything. But this is all now it's taken to get WordPress, to get a web server and to put WordPress on it. And all the next steps we're going to do is we're going to make this template site look really pretty. Okay? So far you've spent $74. Anyone pay a developer to build their site? Anyone spend more than $1,000 for that? Anyone spend more than $2,000? $3,000? Come on. All right, so now we're going to go in and do some customization on WordPress. WordPress has a login screen that is, you'll see in the bottom when you first get there, it says to log in. And we're going to provide that username and password. We log in, and you're going to see a dashboard. On the left-hand side of your dashboard are these sections. It should look like most websites you've seen. And underneath the settings, there's one called General. We're just going to make some general settings. The first is we're going to change our site title to be words instead of a domain name. 30 minutes, $300. We're going to scroll down. We're going to change the time zone because we are here on the East Coast. We're going to change this to New York. And you happen to like PM being in capital letters. You change your time format. Click Save Changes, and that's done. We've now changed some of the things on the website. We're going to keep working. Under the Writing tab, we're going to scroll down, and we're going to activate the section that's called Remote Publishing. We want to turn on XML RPC. It makes it easier for other services. It makes it easier for us to get content. I will talk about that, how that works later. On discussion settings, we want to turn off some notifications so we're not getting hit with unnecessary email all the time. And these are just preferences, but again, if you follow the videos and just go step by step what I'm doing, can't go wrong. Click Save Changes. We go down to privacy. We want to make sure our site is in fact visible by the search engines. And this is just a thing. Let me pause that. I think that's a big deal. Hang on. Did I miss it? Under privacy, you have two choices. Let Google find it, don't let Google find it. Let Google find it. That's easy. All right, permalink settings. This one's kind of important. Have you ever seen a website where it has the domain name slat and it's like P equals some number? Okay. What that P equals, its page, equals some page number. So Google indexes every time you create a page. That doesn't tell anybody anything. When you see a link that has a number on it, it's like you can't identify homes by their MLS number. Instead, you identify them by address. Nobody knows what the MLS number really means. So what we're doing here is we're essentially taking all of our posts and giving them meaningful names. And so custom structure. What we're doing is we're taking whatever the title of your post is, market stats for Woodbury, and we're making that show up in the title, in the URL, so that when you're indexed on Google, and you'll be able to copy this all down later, but really, really important stuff. Permalink is huge for search engine. Don't skip that step. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is change our profile a little bit. So we're going to go into under users in your profile. We're going to give ourselves a first name and last name. This is to make sure that all of our content doesn't show up as being posted by admin. We want our name on our site as often as we possibly can. We give ourselves a nickname. We key in our website. This is all information that will later show up on your site. Have I lost anybody yet? This is just clicking, right? Everybody can follow along? It's fast. Got to talk fast, but it works. Under custom structure, just copy what you see on the video. The key is to have to not use numbers. The key is to use words, and the context is right on that video for you. Okay, so at this point, we've done our basic settings. You remember that look that we had, that basic look? Now we're going to go in and actually change it. And this is one of WordPress's most powerful features, is that just like that, you can change how your site looks. Flip it as many times as you want until you find something you like. And WordPress calls it an appearance. And you can click under the Appearance tab. There's one that's called Themes, and you see our current theme. And we're like, okay, well, that's fine. Here's what it looks like now. We want to make some changes. So we go back to Manage Our Themes, and there's a button that says Install Themes, which is a huge directory of stuff you can choose from. What do I want my site to look like? Rather than go searching, there's a button there that says Featured. If you click on Featured, you'll see a bunch of highlighted ones by the WordPress people, and we just picked this first one, Adventure Journal. We click it, and we say, yes, we want to install now. And what this is going to do is replace our default theme with a new theme. It says it's downloading the new theme. We activate. And now if we go back to our site, we see that the whole look changed just with one click. Okay, well that was fine. Let's see what some other themes look like. So we go back to Featured and we scroll down to try and find one that we might like or might not like. We see a few that are okay. And this light word, we go, okay, light word. That one looks all right. It's a little bit more of a feel like I'm interested in. We click Install Now. Goes through the same process of installing the package. We activate it. And this is all it takes to continually change the way our site looks. Has anyone ever had to call a developer and wait for weeks to have your site get a new look or to make a simple fix? I mean, look what happens here. This is us changing it. You just saw in real time how long it takes. A new look, a new feel. And so WordPress gives us the ability to change how our site looks at a moment's notice. It also lets us search, just one second, it also lets us search, for example, if we wanted by color or by how many columns or by features. Yes? Anytime. One time I was giving this presentation, I took my own site and I changed it live, and I had a momentary panic. But you know, you can always flip back. What WordPress does, it stores all these files separately. So when you change a theme, all you're telling WordPress is, don't make my site look like this, make it look like this. Now make it look like this. And it keeps them all separate. The problem with the WordPress themes, give me one second. The problem with the WordPress themes, though, is that most of them are developed for free, and they aren't really supported. And they're not awesome. They're just good. They're serviceable. So I call it getting a pretty theme. There's a company called Theme Forest. Theme Forest is a bunch of developers who make themes for WordPress, and they sell them cheaply. $4, $10, $20, up to $50. And so through Theme Forest, you can find a new look. And that's what we're going to do. Now, fair warning, I kind of already knew the theme that I was looking for when I started this, because there's literally thousands of themes to search for. But the one that I happen to like is one that's called Convergence. Convergence costs $25. It's been sold over 1,400 times. That's great. That means to me that it's actually a pretty good one. You can mouse over, you see what it looks like, and you can do this for any theme that you find. This is what it would look like, a sample site based on Convergence. I think that looks pretty cool. It looks professional, it's clean. So I say, okay, and we go ahead and we click Purchase. Now, this next step we're going to look at here was only to save $2, but I figured $2 is $2. You can prepay into Theme Forest. So you put money into a bank, more or less, and then when you use money that's in your own bank, they'll give you a discount on anything you buy. So I put some money into the bank, and that's the process here. I put $30 into the bank so that I could buy this particular theme at a small discount. You don't need to do this step. I did, because it saves money. So we go ahead and we're back at our theme page, and we click in Convergence again, and this time say, okay, we're ready to purchase. We click Purchase. We're going to use our prepaid credit, and Theme Forest will take this pretty theme and put it into a directory for us, and we go ahead and we download it. Anytime you save a file to your disk, you know how you save as, whatever, so that's what's happening here. The file gets saved as, and now that we have this on our computer, the next thing we're going to do is upload this theme. We're now going to tell WordPress, take this great theme that we just got and add it to our site. So far, no lines of coding yet. $109. We go to Install Themes. There's a line up top, one of these buttons that says Upload. We go ahead to Upload and we find our file. There it is, Convergence. We click Install Now. And WordPress will go through the process of installing this theme. Same thing as we do before. We click Activate. And this is now what our site looks like. This is what we downloaded, but without all the pretty stuff on the right and the left. This is just a bare bones theme. So now we want to make some small changes. We go back into our dashboard. And the first thing we're going to do is add widgets. Widgets are the boxes that showed up on the right side of the site and where you can add content. And we're like, okay, let's take all of our most recent posts and we'll put them in the sidebar so people can see them so they're available. And we'll take the last 15. And let's also take our most recent tweets. Anything that we've recently tweeted, we're going to put that on the site because we want people to come to our to see our Twitter stuff. And let's say we also want to get categories so people can easily search our site by category. And that seems like enough. And we save. Now if we go back to our site and we click refresh, you'll see that on the right-hand column are all these things we just added. Posts, tweets, categories. There's nothing there yet because our site's blank. But we're starting to build out this site, just dragging and dropping and clicking. Everybody with me so far? Everybody can do this, right? This doesn't look complicated. This is really easy. Okay. Now, we're going to make it do more. So, we spent $109. Now we want to start building on. These things are called plugins. Plugins are add-ons. They're mostly free software that's been built by a developer community that loves to do stuff for WordPress. Similar to how people make free themes, they make free WordPress. If you were in Crystal's session, she was talking about these plugins, WP Cycle, Greetbox. These are plugins. So a couple of good plugins that I like. You click on the plugin menu. There's a button that says Add New. You click on Add New, and what's great is that WordPress will tell you what all the most popular plugins are that people are using. And as soon as the screen refreshes, you'll see a whole list right up top. You see a button that says Featured, Popular. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to put in Jetpack. Jetpack was created by the people that actually run the WordPress company. It was a series of high-power stats tools, writing tools, editor tools that they created to make it easier for you to do your job. There used to be a lot of, it was a fragmented, rather than install 7 plugins, you get to only install one. It's called Jetpack. And WordPress makes us go through a couple of steps in order to do that. What's great about it is that a lot of data goes back and forth as you're building. And so WordPress will do all the processing on their server for you. That's one of the big benefits here, is that the software is always up to date, and you've got their major servers powering your stats, for example. Good stuff, Jetpack. But they make you go through some steps to register, and we're almost done activating. And then here we authorize the connection, and then we're done with Jetpack. So it's like a 12-in-1. It's kind of cool. See, there's a lot of them. Then we want to go in. We're also going to click back. These are a couple ones. Redirection is a good one. The reason why redirection is a good plugin, it takes anybody who's going to your site to a page that doesn't exist. You ever get to a site and it's like, this page doesn't exist? It redirects them to your front page or somewhere else, so you don't lose traffic and you don't lose Google juice. And you'll notice that the installation process is the same as it was with a theme. You click Install and Activate, and it's done. We're going to add another one. This one is called Google XML Sitemaps. And every day this will go through and look at your site and build essentially a map, so when Google comes to visit your site, it knows where to find all of your pages, and it can archive and index more of your stuff. This one is an essential. Google XML Sitemaps, essential. Click Activate Plugin, and that's live. There's one follow-up step on this one we'll get to in a minute, where we just have to effectively activate it, make it run. We're going to add another one that's called Real Estate Chart of the Day. This is one that I wrote. I just think it's fun. It takes some sort of economic chart, housing chart, mortgage chart, something, and it will put it in the sidebar of your blog, new home sales, pending home sales, and every day it'll just refresh and rotate. So you always have just some charts and something for people to chew on. Activate the plugin, and it goes. The next plugin we're going to put in, it's similar to the Greetbox. It's called What Would Seth Godin Do? Seth Godin is a marketer, and his basic theory was, hey, look, people coming to your website for the first time probably have a different need than somebody coming the second time. So what this lets us do is present a message to first-time visitors and say, hey, I see you're new here. Would you like to continue to get updates by email? Or to subscribe? And people that have returned a bunch of times, they get a different message. So you can customize based on how many times someone's been to your site. For the XML sitemap generator, You're just going to click it to build the site for the first time. You'll see here it was, it's built, and that's done. Google, the plugin takes care of the rest. This sharing is from the Jetpack, and what this lets us do is at the bottom of every post add a Facebook and a Twitter link so people can easily share our content. Save our changes. Back under Jetpack, another feature we want to add is something called After the Deadline. So if you have trouble with double negatives and passive voice and writing things in your content that is not considered good English, you can have Jetpack search for it. So we want to eliminate cliches, for example. And every time you hit post, it'll do a quick wipe through your content to make sure that you're actually writing properly and not looking foolish. There, and there. Your and your. Real estate chart of the day, you can come in and, Seth Godin plugin. Here it tells us repetition, show the above message the first 5 times somebody comes to the site. After 5 times, give them a new message. Real estate chart of the day, you can pick a color that matches your backdrop so that the charts match. And so we've done all of this. Now if we, real estate chart of the day, we want to drag over as a widget. Now all this is done. We're going to go back to our site. Okay, we've made a lot of fixes here. We've added plugins. If we do a refresh now, we can see that we're starting to build out the site. There's the real estate plugin on the right. Okay, so $109, and we've built a really good frame of a site. Is everybody still with me? Okay. Animations? No. What kind of animations do you mean? Oh, yes, that's content. Different story. We're just talking about the framing. Let's address that afterwards. I'd love to talk to you about that. Yes? Of course you can. You can do whatever you want. It's your site. Now, this is probably one of the most just a second. This is one of the most underused tools. Now that you're writing content, how are you actually getting it out to people? If you have a site that's there, how do you communicate with people? MailChimp is great. MailChimp is free. MailChimp will not cost you anything. It's a great way to email your database. One of the ways that I use MailChimp is that every time I write new content on my website, it takes my new content and emails it to my database automatically, every single day. And people opt into this database. So we go through it, and it's free. Is free, and it's great. So MailChimp, they make their money on big corporations, not on people like us. So they like to give it out for free and hope someday we'll be in positions where we can pay them for what they do, larger companies. So we create a MailChimp account. The thing that MailChimp is really, really careful about is spam. No spam allowed. They will not let you just add your customers to a database without your customers opting in. Really, really important stuff. Because once they get registered as a spammer, spamming for you, it hurts all of MailChimp's customers. So they're pretty diligent about making sure that your lists are legitimate. But you go through the sign-up process. It takes about 30 seconds. You've got to provide your address. And all this is for the Canned Spam Act. The information that you provide here will go into all of the emails that you send out, and it'll be used to essentially meet the government's requirements that it's easy to unsubscribe, that you represent a particular company that has a particular address. So important stuff. Don't skip out on this because MailChimp will shut you down. They've got a great service. You just got to play by their rules. So we click through the next step, and that's pretty much it. Security question: what won't you do? For me, it's never going to give you up or desert you. It's a Rickroll thing. What type of account do you want? So under monthly, now there are free plans. Just know that I used a pay-for plan for purposes of this because I have to assume that some people will have more than 1,000, 2,000 people in their database, and so that's $20. Provide our credit card information, and that's it. We're set up with MailChimp. MailChimp, the feature is called RSS to email. 3 minutes? Yeah, I'm not going to make it, but that's okay. Thank you. The important part is we're going to key in our RSS feed. So you put in just the URL of your website. And what this is telling MailChimp to do is to watch your site every day. And when it's updated, go ahead and send out this stuff to people that are in your list. The rest of the video is on the site. you can see exactly how that works. For content, this is, I tell you, I run a company, Bring the Blog. If you're having trouble populating your site with content, Bring the Blog writes blog content we put on your site every day. This is the stuff that you can be sending out to your database. So you can see how Bring the Blog will work. It'll also seed your site. So if you need to, if you don't want to put out a site with no content on it, and that matters for our next step here, if you don't want to put out a site with no content, we'll seed your site with up to a year's worth of posts, which helps. There's studies that show that inbound leads multiply when you've got more than 100 pages on your site. Over 300, it increases even more. So we can seed your site. And what you're looking at here is now a site that actually is populated with content that's been populated with the Bring the Blog stuff. Make sure you're adding links and navigation to your site as well so people know how to get in and out and poke their way around. So we go back to our dashboard, and there's this thing called menus. Menus is exactly what it sounds like. How do people find things on your site? And we're going to create a navigation bar. The navigation bar is going to have a couple of buttons on it. One of them is going to be for certain content that we like housing analysis, or around the home, or mortgage rates, or rankings, top 10 cities for X, Y, and Z. We also want to make sure, because our brokers want us to do it, we're going to put in a link, a custom link, for example, one to our broker website, because we're going to be required to do that. So it's a custom link. And we're also going to add an IDX feed so that people can come to our site and do home searches, or however it is you want to set it up, and we give it a label, homes for sale. And every time we add one of these, you see it shows up in the menu. We can drag them around so they show up in the order that we want. We want homes for sale to be the first thing people see. We save menu. Now if we go back to the site and we do a refresh, you see up top, there they are, homes for sale, housing analysis, around the home, etc. Searchable by category, so people can now find their way around your site easily. Menus, WordPress. We're also going to want to make sure that we want to add some more widgets, some other stuff. Now that we've got content on there, people always love to see popular posts. So we're going to show the 5 most popular posts on our site so people can always see that. Do a refresh and you'll see now our top 5 posts are showing up top. So our site's starting to look like a convergent site, right? And again, there's been no coding or anything that's been written here. As our last step, final tweaks and changes, we're going to create a MailChimp list. And this is specifically how we're going to entice people that visit our site. We're going to try to get them to sign up for our MailChimp list. And we create this list. MailChimp is great. We don't have to do any design. We give them our website, and they go ahead and make a sign-up sheet that looks just like our website looks. So they grab my logo in the same colors that the Bring the Blog site has. They also tell us what's the link to subscribe. I kind of copy and paste it, and we go back to the Seth Godin plugin. We're going to make a small little tweak here. When you say to people, would you like to subscribe to my blog, they don't always understand what that means. But when you tell them, would you like to get my blog via email? Or would you like me to email you updates? People, that always makes sense to people. People don't get subscribe, they don't get feed, but they do get send it to my email. So what we're doing is we're changing the addresses here from essentially compelling people to click on get my blog via email, and it pulls up their email address. This way nobody has to mess with these things called RSS or feeds. What you've done is moved everything right to a non-technical way of communicating information, which is great. So I have over 2,800 people that get mine every day. My subscription rate dramatically increased on the day that I changed the verbiage from get my feed to get my email. Last step, we're going to go back into our bio section. We want to make sure that our name shows up after every post. It's a great place to do a call to action. So we go back in the dashboard, we go under biographical info, we type in some information about you. And you're going to want to put your phone number or your email address, whatever your call to action is, this is what's going to show up after every article that shows up on your site. We click Update Profile, and you'll see that if we go back to the site and we do a quick refresh at the bottom of the article, it's going to now have your name and your bio. So, and a link to your other website or however you'd like to do it. So in what was 30 minutes, you've built a WordPress website. I know we zipped through this. That's why the videos are available online. It actually wasn't, it's actually $286. But there's nothing here that you can't do. Does anyone feel overwhelmed? Is there anything that you couldn't click? I mean, this looks possible, right? Okay, and it's 30 minutes. And if you go ahead and do it, please, 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 send me a note. I love to see the sites, without fail. It's like a week after the sessions, I start getting emails. Oh, thanks, we got, here's my site that I built. Doesn't have to use a convergence theme. You can use any theme that you want. Build it however you want. You're not going to break your site. If you do, though. You're welcome to email me for tips or help or questions. I'll do what I can. But again, 30 minutes, $300.com. This entire presentation is online, available for you to look at. There's links that say click here for the how-to guide. You can do this. I hope you will. Really, really simple stuff. Thanks, everybody.